Hello, this is Lisa Rose here on Connect to Love on PRNFM, and I'm here with my co-host Michael J. Russ, who joins me on this wonderful exploration of our connection to love. So it's just absolutely such a delight to welcome you, Michael. How are things in your world today?
Awesome. Sunny skies, lots of wind. It takes the edge off, I guess, of a really beautiful day. It would be awesome if it wasn't blowing so hard, but hey, I take the good with the bad. As long as the sun is shining and the sky is clear, I'm in good shape. I'm getting that energy.
And I think you sent us some sunshine, so thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. We had a beautiful 60-degree day, and yeah, and the dog's outside. I sat outside and just grounded and got some beautiful sun. And then we had gorgeous star-filled skies at night. It was wonderful.
Oh, man.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I love the stars. Every night I walk the dog about 10 o'clock, a little cobalt, and I'm looking up at the sky in wonder. And it's fascinating to me. Just looking up, just fascinating. It's a joy for me at that time of the evening. It's quiet, and the sky is dark, and these stars are bright, and some are even brighter. The planets are there. That the moon, I saw the moon set day before yesterday. That sliver of the moon, and it looked like a bowl, like an orange bowl, and because I think it was a quarter, but the quarter was on the bottom side. So
yeah, I did see that. It's beautiful.
It was gorgeous, man. I said that's absolutely amazing. The orangeness of it kind of settling into the horizon. It was beautiful. And really don't catch that too often. Don't catch it too often, but it's gorgeous. Seas are rough. Seas are rough. Oceans are rough with this wind, and one of the roughest oceans I've seen, roughest water I've seen in the bay yesterday. I mean, just brutal.
Wow.
White cap. Looked like there was snow on the water. It was so many white caps. But
it's amazing though when you see that big open sea and the wind just comes across it. I did not grow up near the ocean when I was a kid. I grew up on the prairies, but it's wide open spaces. And when the wind comes across the prairies, you forget about having a hairstyle, but it's amazing. That openness in that prairie, the sky is incredible because it just seems like it goes on forever. And I'm sure that as you're looking at the ocean, it seems like it goes on forever.
Yeah, the water's rough at the beach, the waves, double red flags. It's pretty interesting. And then you get that juxtaposition when the wind's blowing from the north and it's completely calm. The waves are like an inch or two lapping onto the shore. It's fantastic. And then you get all the color in the water. The wind is not a part of it. It's just gorgeous. You could sit out there and just, amazing, just amazing. So. And
you wonder how deep you go before you find the calm. And when I did scuba diving, I was in the Bahamas, and the seas were like what you're talking about. I couldn't even believe that we were going out diving in that water. And I've never gotten seasick in my life. And no tricks would work. And finally, the dive master said, just get in the water. I'm thinking, are you got to be kidding me? But once we got underneath, it was calm. It was amazing.
Yeah,
it was just amazing.
There's a metaphor in there somewhere. There's a metaphor in there, and that life can be, your outer world can be rough and chaotic, seem rough, seem chaotic, and without any purpose or reason. And then when you go inside, you have complete calm. No matter where you are, you can always have calm. You can bring that calm to yourself by closing your eyes and going within. See? Metaphor in there.
Exactly. And I think it ties so well into the topic. Last week on the show, we spoke about the beautiful dance between expectations and allowing. And there was so much in that show, Michael, that my mind just continues to wander. And I thought, well, where do you go from there? And I started to think about this exact topic, about openness, and that when we dive into that transformative power of openness, that space where We go beyond fear. We go beyond resistance. We go beyond judgment. And we just perceive. And vulnerability, yeah. And so how do we do that and open up to what is our true, pure essence, which is love, truth, presence, joy, all of those different things. And it's interesting because I had, before the show, just briefly spoken to Carol Collins, and she shared with me that James, one of the guides, is channeling poetry, and it's in her wonderful magazine, Synergy. And I said, oh, well, let me take a look at it. And she wouldn't, I open it up, and one of the poems that was in there was, and I think in many ways speaks to openness. It said, love knows no boundary. You believe, and so you receive. You offer, and so you gain. What shall you gain? Be it love, be it generosity, be it alignment. So in the end, it will have been love after all. And it's about, in my opinion, about being open. Open. Love knows no boundary. So I am so excited to explore this idea with you, Michael, today, because you're always open. So that's one of the things I so appreciate. I can throw you a curveball and say, and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm open to that. I'm open to that. How do we cultivate that? How do we transcend that ego that keeps us stuck and align ourselves with love where it knows no boundary? Any thoughts?
I would probably, the first thing that comes to my mind is Glenn Brooks, and that, we have to be willing to step into and accept the unknown. Because when we render ourselves open to everything, to love, to friendship, to kindness, to empathy, to compassion, and to forgiveness, all these things, gratitude, you have to be open to those things. You have to, when we become open to them, we are literally putting ourselves in the unknown. We don't know what is going to come when we become open. We open ourselves up. We don't know what kind of love is going to come our way. We don't know who will come our way. We don't know anything. We just have to have positive expectations, maintain positive expectations throughout the whole process, and revel in what does come your way, because what does come your way invariably is going to be exactly what you need. Exactly what you need. And as someone much brighter than me has said, you're always going to get the best of what it is that you need, the highest level, the grandest version of what you believe that you're worthy of. You're going to get better than that. And you have to be open to a lot of different things. You have to be open to change as well, to your own evolution, open to accepting that the way you are right now, if you're unhappy at this particular point in your life, or not satisfied, let's just say that instead of unhappy, and you want more out of life, you must render yourself open, become open to something better, something different, something more joyful, something more loving, whatever it may be. There's a lot you can do with this in terms of it. But I think that the unknown is the first place that I would go. That you have to be willing to see. I'm willing to step into the unknown and happily and lovingly accept what comes to me.
It's so true.
Yeah, what comes to me is going to be when I'm resonating, because we can't forget that. Whatever frequency we're putting out, we're going to get back. Life is a mirror to what our focus is. And so when we focus on openness and we render ourselves able to open to the unknown first, and whatever comes, that we are elevating our frequency. It'd be interesting to ask if openness is a higher vibrational frequency. I believe it is. I don't know what it would be from a Hertz perspective, but I've never had anybody talk about that. Never had anybody talk about it from that perspective.
Well, when I was thinking about it, I go back to Bashar all the time. One of the things he teaches with openness was that it creates an energetic alignment. He said the more open you are, the more you allow energy to flow through you, and more synchronicities you'll experience. And I think about, Michael, and something that you said, I don't know, I got a really strong visual of traveling. And when I was traveling in Costa Rica and different parts of the world, the doors, they have these really, the doors aren't important in a lot of countries. People have open doors. The doors are open. And you think, as you're walking by and you think, well, that's a little curious, but you wave at somebody and they come out and they chat with you. And it's all of the different wonderful things that can unfold because you have an open door. And you see things, and I don't know, and I know that you've traveled a lot, and that has always been one of the things that I really love. And when I was in Thailand, the same thing, they had these. And I said something to the one, like, our houses really aren't that important. We like being outside. We want to be outside. We want to be in community. And it's about sharing that love. And so I think that you're right, that when we have that openness, we are in that energetic alignment with the universe, and we do allow for all of those things to sort of unfold effortlessly. Because if you're strolling down the street and you see somebody in their doorway, they just wave to you. They might be they go about whatever they're doing. They're not resisting. They're not like blocking the flow of energy. They're just, whatever. They're just, okay, hi, how you doing? And then they go back to sweeping or whatever it is that they're doing. And I think that you're right, that when we do allow ourselves to be open, all of a sudden we become this conduit of attraction and other beautiful things for unfolding.
Yeah, I like that. I like all of that. That's very much in resonance, in my view, with what openness really is all about. And for me, because I can only speak for myself, I'm open whenever I go out, open to whatever experiences bounce back to me. Whatever happens. We've got this. It's really interesting because we discovered this little wine bar coffee shop in a particular community here, and we go there just about every Friday. And we've discovered that there are a lot of people who go there every Friday. And the first Friday that we were there for a wine tasting, we ran into a gentleman. He introduced himself, and we introduced ourselves, and we started talking. And he says, hey, he was with a group of about 6 people. And it was really interesting because they were sitting down. They created a little pit for themselves where they were having conversations and stuff. And we found ourselves in that little pit the next time we were there. And
what fun.
Yeah, it's just really, really interesting. But the gentleman was really wonderful. Introduced me to, we were talking about wine, and I was talking about I used to live in California in Lodi. I used to go to Lodi a lot, and I like that area better than Napa and Sonoma and all these other areas that are very popular. And he said, hey, well, Deborah over there wrote a book about Lodi.
Oh, really? That's amazing. There's a miracle, right?
Yeah, she wrote a book about Lodi wine. Yeah, and the next week she bought me a copy, brought me a copy to the next wine tasting, and signed it for us and gave it to us. And I'm sitting there going, wow. As we had this conversation about that, something we had in common. Turns out his wife, her father was a gentleman by the last name of Holloway. And I don't know if you wouldn't know the name Holloway as an author, but you would if you've ever seen the movie Red Tails. Red Tails.
I did not see that movie. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Some people have. It's a story of the Tuskegee Airmen.
Okay.
The pilots, the black pilots of World War II that became aces and had to deal with racism and all that in the military just to be able to fly, and how they became decorated heroes, decorated aces, in protecting
Wow, sounds like a fantastic movie.
It is a fantastic movie. Well, I'm saying this because his wife's father wrote the book.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah, he wrote the book about the Tuskegee Airmen, wrote the movie Red Tails, the book that was turned into then the movie Red Tails with some very famous black actors. It's a great movie. It's a fabulous movie. And I was interested in it because both my parents went to Tuskegee and graduated. They were graduating in '52, so they were basically. I think the Tuskegee Airmen were 1943 and 44, something like that, somewhere around that time frame of the war. So they were about, I'd say, 8 years younger than older than my parents. But my parents, my father and mother, did know some of them because it's a small, tight-knit community. At any rate, just in one evening, and then we met another couple from California that was here for 3 months doing some remote work and staying at her mother's house. It was a married couple. Nice young couple. So we had a chance to talk with them last week. But, bottom line here is that when you render yourself open, and the opposite of open is walking into to a place like that on an evening where there's a bunch of people milling around, and you're not open. You're to yourself. You're not engaging with people. And what the shame of it is that there are a lot of, when you spend a lot of time, if you grow up in a digital generation, and you where phones were a natural part of your existence and smartphones became the thing of the day, there are a lot of communication skills that you're not attempting to improve upon. And so the one of the best things about traveling before cell phones was that you had to meet people in order to accomplish your objectives, find places to eat, and sites to see, things of that nature. We used to go Frommer's books, right? Frommer's guidebooks.
Or Lonely Planet.
Lonely Planet. Even before Lonely Planet, there was Frommer's. I mean, it was a book. You went into the library or you went into a bookstore and you bought the book on the country, and you read about it was a guidebook for the country, right? Now you got all this stuff is online. I don't think you need books anymore, and I think Frommer's may not exist anymore. I think it might have officially been closed shop. But at any rate, you can go to libraries now and you can still find these kinds of books. But the issue I'm getting at here is that being open to communication is one of your can become one of your greatest gifts. Being open to communication, one of the greatest benefits in life, because no matter where you are, no matter where you go, you're going to bring people to you. You're going to resonate with people. If you're loving, if you're happy, if you're a free spirit, if you're joyful, if you live with excitement and passion, you're going to literally attract those people. However, the caveat is you have to be aware. You have to make yourself alert to connect with people, to actually then get the benefit of the connection that you can make, that is there in front of you, that was drawn to you because of who you are and what you're resonating, what frequencies you're putting out. And so otherwise it's just that's free will. Otherwise you don't have to connect with them. You don't have to. However, there was a study that reflected that a large percentage of people in this country, in the U.S., find themselves lonely. And I'm, for the life of me, saying, what in the world are you talking about? I mean, I can meet people in a supermarket, shopping.
It's about being open to connection.
Yeah,
right? It's about being open to that connection.
Yeah, you got to be open to connection. You got to be open to communicate with other people, because there's all kinds of joy and things that can happen as a result. And one more quick little story. The gentleman who was pouring wine from France 2 weeks ago, his name is Pierre Etienne, and he owns the winery. And you want to talk about somebody who resonates with Connect to Love. I've got to actually send them the link to Connect to Love to our podcast. However, we connected on WhatsApp after he left. We tasted his wine. He lives in southern France. His wine is all about love.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
All about love. He talks in terms of love and joy and passion and excitement. That's the way he talks. That's his whole brand of wine. His winery is built around that, and his family life is around that. And it's
and
awesome.
I'm sure his wine is outstandingly delicious because he put so much love into it.
Yeah,
I can imagine.
It's pretty darn amazing, yes. We had to have some more this past weekend at the wine shop, but I connected with him after he left. I said, I got his card. I looked him up on WhatsApp and connected with him and said, thank you very much. And I said, if we ever get to southern France, we'll look you up, and which should be in the next couple of years. But it's somebody that you can connect with, and you can every once in a while, every a couple of months, you can connect with them and say, hey, what's going on? How you doing? How's the harvest? How's life? And it's fun. That's how you meet people. And you can meet people and have friends all over the world. Back in the day, we used to call it pen paling. Back in the day, when you'd write a letter to somebody, write some snail mail to somebody in some other country, and at some point they'd receive it and they'd write you back. And it was fun because you had this anticipation for receiving something from them. And
absolutely.
It was really kind of neat. Sometimes it came with pictures.
I still send cards, and I had a friend, I sent her a thank you card, and she said, oh my gosh, I didn't think anybody sent cards anymore. And I thought, well, why not? I love sending cards. I love shopping for them. It's part of who I am.
Yeah.
And but Michael, I was thinking, what you brought up a good point about communication and the technology. I saw a sign on a door the other day that said, we have no Wi-Fi. And then below it said, try talking to each other like we did in 1995. It made me laugh. But there again, there is a doorway for openness. The people who were willing to go in and experience a place, although most phones have their own, you can use your own data or whatever, but are you open or closed to that right now? And I think that there's a curiosity in that when we sort of approach life like that and say, okay, well, this option may not be open right to me right now, but if I go and try something different, what else could unfold? And I think that's really important, that it's all a part of embracing, allowing too. You let life unfold without trying to control every detail. When I got out of college, I went and I bought a Eurail pass, and I traveled on the train, and I didn't have an agenda. I stopped wherever it looked interesting. If I wanted to stay overnight, I would find a place to stay. If not, I would just hop back on the train and I'd go to the next place that looked interesting. Mm-hmm. But I was open to the people that I met. I was open to trying new foods, and lots of different things unfolded, and lots of wonderful miracles happened because of that. And I think I still keep in touch with some of the people that I met on that trip. And I think that openness too, Michael, is a state of how we're vibrating. We all talk about frequency and vibration, and I saw a really interesting illustration, and it showed the spectrum of frequencies and what humanity, like humans, can actually perceive. And it was just such a narrow bandwidth. Mm-hmm. But if we could allow ourselves to be open to all these other things that are out there. I mean, we can't see Wi-Fi, obviously, but we know that it's there. And I think that when you are open to those different types of things, we sort of naturally become receptive to expecting things. And as Carol said, when you have a little book and you write all the things that you're happy about or joyful about or loving about, then we start to and become more and more open to that. We're looking for it. We're looking for that joy in every little thing that we're doing, which I absolutely love.
I agree. It's a wonderful way to live. It's a joyful way to live, because you never know what you're going to encounter every single day.
You're right.
It's a beautiful thing. Especially if you set the right tone in the morning when you wake up, talking about the things you love and like in life, and about yourself and about things and about other people, whatever. When you do that, you set a firm foundation of positivity, and then you've got a smile on your face all day, and nothing can really shake you, unless, of course, you allow that to happen, and you can right the ship. But it's wonderful. Everywhere we go, we went to this interesting thing called Death by Chocolate last night.
Oh, fun! Oh my gosh, that sounds decadent.
Yeah, it was extremely decadent, and we had to kind of, I don't eat that many desserts in the evening, and we just kind of shared these small bites from various places, and just enjoyed it. My girlfriend and I, just something to do in a midweek that we hadn't done before, and we said, okay, that's it. Well, we've had enough of that for 4 more years. Going, yeah, no kidding.
But Michael, that's actually it's a good example of what it is to opening your heart up to a new experience, because it's not something you normally do, and it was something that you wanted to experience together. You didn't say, oh, well, no, I don't really do desserts, but I don't want to go do that. No. You were open to the experience, and like you said, you may not have to do it again for a while, but there was a lot of joy, and it was fun to taste those little bits of all those different delicious things. And it's a really good metaphor for life, because I think that when we trust and we open our heart and we go, okay, how can I cultivate this awareness so it allows me to taste all these little things, whether it be a sporting event or a symphony or some experience that you may not normally go to, rather than just shut it down. You're open to it. Yeah. And now your taste buds, thank you. Your waistline might not, but your taste buds certainly do, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. There were a lot of really, really cool things. I mean, in the evening, I'll have 1/4 of a dark chocolate bar. It's just, that to me is enough, is a savory, sumptuous dessert. It's healthy, got lots of antioxidants in it, 72% or better. You just suck on a little bit, and it pretty much satisfies the sweet craving. But the idea of going out, and looking for parking, we ended up not finding a parking space, and just went back to my girlfriend's restaurant, which was down the street, and just took an Uber, called an Uber to get us in back and forth. And no big deal. You meet some great Uber drivers. We had an Uber driver in Orange Beach, Alabama, when we were there overnight for a concert, seeing James Taylor. And on the way to the concert, sometimes you get these really talkative drivers that tell you very interesting things, and I love that. And he says, hey, see that place right over there? And I said, yeah. It was in the downtown of this area that had been created with restaurants and bars, and the concert venue was a big, beautiful amphitheater. One of the best concerts I've ever been to in my life, because the energy and the vibe of his music is so wonderful. It's peaceful. It's melodic. It just makes you feel absolutely amazing. And it wasn't one song. It wasn't a few songs. It was every song. And that's what made it cool. It was like listening to the vibration of love for 2 hours. It's wow. You're like, spectacular. But he goes, hey, see that place right over there? He says, yeah, there's a speakeasy behind that jewelry store. And I said, speakeasy? He says, yeah, look him up. There's the name. You see it there. Hey, I forgot the name of the place, but And he said, yeah. He says, go to their Facebook page and read today's post, and you'll see a code in there, it's a coded message, and it's got the 4-digit code or 4 or 5-digit code for that day. And after the concert, we came back to that town, and we said, let's go check out that speakeasy. So we went, and there was a door to the right of it, just a nondescript door, a large door. You just open it up, and you go into a room, and there's nothing in there, nondescript, just 4 walls, and there's a little red button. And you push the little red button. You push the little red button, and that door opens up. And then there's another door that has a keypad, right? And I said, okay, great. So you put the code in for that day in the keypad, and the door opens. And you walk into this very opulent bar, this speakeasy, which had food and drinks, and there was a piano playing. Somebody was playing the piano in the back, and they had a patio in back. It was absolutely stellar. I'm still talking about this. I sent a buddy of mine who's a chef. I said, you're thinking about doing a speakeasy over here? I said, you need to go to Orange Beach and go to this place. And he did. He went down there, and he got the grand tour by the owner, and he treated him really, really nice. And you know what? And the owner comes over, and you start up a conversation, and it's wonderful wherever we go, because I'm open to learning. I'm open to conversation. I'm open to learning about what the chef is doing, or what the bartender's making, or how the particular place came about. If it's not backed up with people out the door, you have an opportunity to experience a restaurant in a different way. One more quick little story. When we went to Turkey, went to Istanbul, the first night in our hotel, and this is a hotel I've stayed in twice before, and I didn't know this restaurant was in the back. But there was a fine dining restaurant was in the back, behind the in the back part of the hotel, I should say, and it had a beautiful patio and gorgeous decoration, high walls and beautiful art, and a great bar and beautiful tablecloths, and the place was empty. It was like I don't think it was like a Monday night or a Sunday night or something like that, and we met the bartender, who we love Turkish wine, so we picked something because the friends that we were with hadn't been there before. And we were traveling together, 4 of us, and we ended up, long story short, having this absolutely amazing 7-course meal in this restaurant. We were the only table in the restaurant that night. We were sitting there, the 4 of us, and the manager had come over. The chef came out and explained entrees from soup to nuts, everything. Had explained his concept behind it, and we were like, really? Oh, that's amazing. I had a minestrone consommé. Minestrone soup, which is supposed to have all these things in it. It tasted exactly like that, but it was a consommé. You want to talk about
sounds like that's amazing. Wow.
This was it. He comes out, and I said, what is this? But all I'm saying is the experiences that you have, experiences like that bring you a sense of joy that you're just not going to experience in many places. Now, there's different aspects of it, but literally those are experiences that you remember. I'm telling a story now. This was like a year and a half ago, right? So there's what I seek to do is have experiences that I'll be talking about 20 years from now. And I'm open to them. I'm open to them, and I don't curate them. I just put myself in a position to experience something magnificent, and I have the expectation that something magnificent could happen, and I just remain open to it.
I think everybody should have a little red button with a keypad behind it, and that we have a secret code to. And I know totally, because when we're open to the unknown, that's when we experience the magic of life. And I don't know. I mean, it's that curiosity. But you did not go, oh well, they gave us a code, and you didn't have this part of your ego going, well, maybe there's somebody behind that door that's going to rob us. And no, or I hate to say it, I know people that are like that. They'll always find the obstacle before the magic. And I'm not really sure how that, how that little dance, because I've never really lived like that. I always just surrender, and I'm willing to let go of control. And I'm like you. I'd be like, oh yeah, no, let's go do that because it sounds like fun. I don't know what to expect. And so many times I went to, and it sounds very strange, a friend of mine was in an expo this past weekend, and it was an oddities expo. He's an incredible artist. He makes the most amazing jewelry from different things that he finds, and he makes sculptures, and it was just very interesting. So he asked me, his girlfriend was working, and if I would help him set up. And so I said, sure. So I packed up my car. We packed up the stuff. We went down. We set everything up. And he said, well, you're going to come, aren't you? And I thought, well, no, I've never been to an oddities. And it didn't work out that I could go on Saturday, but it worked out that I could go on Sunday. And he did very, very well. But it was very interesting to me because as I was walking around what I thought was an oddities expo, I realized that there's a lot of things, different booths, and I talked to some of the most amazing people. A couple that they were from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and they had a lot of really unique antiques and old books and all the things that are really fascinating to me. And I ended up buying a wind-up toy. I collect old antique wind-up toys. It was a little camel, and the tail spins around, and it works, and it was so joyful. But in my perception of what I thought an oddities expo would be about was nothing like what it was about. I mean, sure, there were some things that were not really my cup of tea, but I had such a nice time. And I thought, well, I'll just go in and out. I'll pop in. I'll buy a ticket. I'll go in and out. I ended up walking out of the convention center, going to have a bite to eat, and then coming back in and walking around some more and met some more wonderful people. So I never would have had that experience had I not been open to it.
True.
And
I agree.
It brought me a lot of joy, for sure.
Yeah. The two things that, in my view, prevent people from being open is fear and doubt. Fear and doubt. And when you live from fear in your everyday life and doubt, those two things really squash the magic in life.
Sure.
Because they're fear and doubt, being negative frequencies, are contractive energies. They're not expansive energies, expanding energies. So you're literally just you're contracting your world when you fear and when you carry fear and doubt about everything, about the unknown. Okay, when you look at the unknown and all you see is fear and doubt and worry that something might go wrong. We have to understand that what we focus on is what we get. Right? That's what you're going to get. You're going to walk into a room and there'll be 100 people, and you're going to attract the people who resonate fear and doubt just like you. Oh, yes, I know that. I hate that too. I would never go there. I would never, that's who you're going to attract. If you go into the room completely open with a loving heart, an open heart, and joy, and living from joy and happiness and excitement and passion, you're going to attract other people in that room to you that you resonate with and you can have conversations with, like the one we're having right now about
right.
Where you go, what you've done, and where to go. They give you suggestions for restaurants. They give you suggestions for doing this or doing that, and you're living, you're experiencing life from that perspective. Fear and doubt, you're going to experience life from that perspective. And
truly,
generally, I find that thought viruses are responsible for propagating a lot of fear and doubt, right? You've been to Costa Rica. I've been to Costa Rica. Same thing. People say, "Oh, Costa Rica. Oh, I'd never go down. I heard such and such about Costa Rica. I'd never been there."
Yeah, it's close to Nicaragua. It's dangerous.
Yeah, really.
Heard that.
Yeah,
so
don't
many
cross the border
times,
into Nicaragua. You'll be captured by the government or somebody.
I know.
Sandinistas. I don't know. You're like, what year is this? You know.
I don't even play in that realm. I totally get it.
I know. But what
Michael, but you're absolutely right. I think what you're saying is like when you practice openness, you have to be willing to challenge your beliefs and your assumptions. Like as you were saying, you assume that it's a hostile place. And Wayne Dyer used to say that, a hostile world, a loving world. It's the same world. What are you going to focus on? And so in going to that oddities, maybe it could have been uncomfortable if I wasn't open to it. If I didn't feel comfortable in who I am, well, I'm not going to fit in. Why would I go there? Because I'm not like those people. What is that assumption? But rather than that, it was like, I'm openness. And I think when you're open, there is some vulnerability in there. And that when you are open to step past that vulnerability, it shows how strong you are. It's not how weak you are. And then I think that you have to go through sometimes those uncomfortable feelings. And I didn't feel like I stood out like a sore thumb. Like, I wasn't one of them, whatever that is. And like you're saying,
whoever they are,
one of them. Whatever an oddity is, I don't know. And actually, I'm perfect for that because I am sort of an oddity in myself. But it was, And I do believe you're right, though. When you travel, I've had so many people say, "Well, I don't know why you would ever want to go there. It's just not safe."
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, what I say is that there's, depending on where you're getting your information from, that information, and if you're accepting it, it's continuing to propagate the negativity that you're feeling about that place. The people are awesome. I had people ask me about that. Is Turkey, is it safe? I said, yeah, I used to live there. It's very safe. There are nice people. Let's put it this way. There are people who live on the dark side and prey on people who live from fear and doubt. Okay, I mean you might as well just if you're going to a place and you're living from fear and doubt when you're in as part of your experience. That's how you're experiencing a place. You might as well be carrying a sandwich board that says, "Rob me, take me, steal my purse, take my wallet." I mean, you might as well give me the worst experience possible here. And people, negative energy attracts negative energy. That there are negative energy is not going to come to you if you're coming from a positive place. And I've found that everywhere I've gone in the world. And people say, "Oh my gosh, you were there. I got my wallet stolen there." Really? Okay. Now, here's what I also tell them. I said, I just operate in this world from a perspective of common sense. Okay? I don't put my wallet in my back pocket. It's not some big, fat, thick thing with wads of money just sitting there saying, "Take me." I just use some common sense when I travel. I like to blend in.
I do too.
Not looking to be a tourist, right? Not looking to dress like a tourist. It's just you blend in to wherever you are, and if you do that, you'll meet a lot of people, a lot of neat people, and there'll be opportunities that open up for you to experience a place and differently than the travel book ever said.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
there's so many rewards to an open heart, Michael. I totally agree. As you said, you get greater peace, joy. You have these amazing connections that you may not have had, not just with others, but also yourself. I mean, sometimes when you open your heart to a new experience, it's like, wow, it's become sort of like, wow, I actually was able to achieve that because I was willing to try. And I think that when you get that greater sense of fulfillment, it helps make our lives a lot more richer than what we would normally have experienced. It's just
so interesting. That's kind of what my parents taught me. So my parents taught me when we were living around the world, we would we planned these trips from the home base of where we were, and it's really strange. I have so many chapters in my book of life, so many wonderful chapters, and many of them I've just literally forgotten because I live in the present, and I don't even think about what happened yesterday because I'm here now, experiencing the now or this moment in a very unique way. However, honestly, when in 1972 we went to Germany for Bavaria for 2 weeks, and we live in Turkey.
Wow.
And we visited and toured the Olympic Village, the 1972 Olympic Village. Now, you know what happened at the Olympic Village, everybody does, in 1972, but which happened a month after we were there. However, when we went to the beer garden, we stopped by the beer garden after, I think, one of the other, we looked at Eagle's Nest or Birch's Garden. We were up in the mountains, Garmisch, those ski villages and stuff.
That's so beautiful there. Mm-hmm.
And gorgeous. We were at this beer garden, and I actually met a girl there. And I just remembered this last week, that I met this girl there. We had this like resonating connection. There was this, it was there, man. And she was like a year older than me, I think. And I think at the time we had exchanged a picture, but I've lived in 20 houses since then, and I can't for the life of me figure out what I did with the picture. But it just made me remember of what made that trip so special, is that I had a connection with someone who at the time I never even understood what resonance was or frequency or anything like that, but since that time I've had several opportunities to engage with people, to meet people, and there's just this thing, that resonance that between you, some sort of magic, and you connect and you communicate. And in those days there was, other than pen paling, there was no real way to keep in touch with anyone like there is now with Facebook and all these other social media digital ways you can find anybody in the world generally. But it just came to my mind that as we were talking about openness, is that you really want to teach your kids to be open. You want to teach the next generation to be open and not be fearful, because a lot of the information, a lot of the reasons for the fear and doubt come from the information that's being disseminated over the sources that your children and you as adults are actually ingesting. And that's why people think about it. Wow, somebody said the other day, Istanbul, wasn't there a bomb there? I said, well, yeah, there's 20 million people. There was an accident or a murder around the corner from your house the other day. You didn't really know about it, but these things happen. There are people who have nefarious, ideals and intentions. That doesn't mean you're going to run into them, right? The bombing, yes, like didn't somebody do something, and yeah, they did, but I wasn't there. It was some other part of the city. And that's in every city, in any city, you're going to experience that. But it's what you, again, focus on.
Yeah, it's so interesting you brought that up, Michael, because yesterday, and it almost brought me to tears. I was on Instagram, and I see Steve Hartman, who does the On the Road with Steve Hartman, and he was interviewing this man about his son in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And actually that's where my parents eloped, to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So I was like, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And but it was so interesting because this man, it was this young boy's 9th birthday, and he said, what would you like to do for your birthday? And he said, I would like to have a very special party. Now, then Steve Hartman said, well, let me back it up. The father volunteered at a center for children with special needs, and he would bring his son along to expose him to that. He was open to allowing him to see kids that weren't not necessarily like him. And so this little boy at age 9 said, I want to have these kids to my party. That's what I want for my birthday. And it was so amazing because he said, we really need to teach our children to be open to other experiences. And I didn't even think about it until you just said that, Michael. And so he did. He had this birthday party with all these kids. And Steve Hartman said, well, they brought everybody together. Obviously, it wasn't his birthday any longer, but they brought them together for this episode. And he said, well, how did you think about doing this? He said, they are so nice. These kids are so kind. He's like, they're some of the nicest people that I know. They never get mad. They never bully. They never do all of these different things. And he said, and nobody ever invites them to their parties. And then Steve Hartman said he talked to the parents, and he said, you know what, you're right. They don't get invited a lot of places. But this little boy, and this was Steve Hartman's observation, he genuinely loved these kids, and these kids loved him immeasurably. And but I thought about that. That's what the father said. He said, you need to teach your children to be open to things. So thank you, Michael, because I had completely forgot about that. It's really, I'll put a link to the episode when I do it because, oh my goodness, it took my breath away. I watched it like 3 or 4 times. It was amazing.
There are wonderful things that occur in this world, and we can seek them out. We can be alert to them, be aware when we do come across them, and then pay attention to them and absorb them. Or we can do the opposite and absorb things that are mindlessly negative and not really positive for your own subconscious grid. But I get such a warm feeling when you said what you said about this young man who wanted this birthday party with people that really they're human souls. They're souls just like everybody else. We're all souls in a suit of clothes, and their suit of clothes was different than his and different than other people that were at his school. And I think it's absolutely awesome that his father is teaching him tolerance in a way. He's teaching him to be warm and empathetic and compassionate, and understand that everybody has something awesome to offer. And
you're right.
Beautiful. Everybody does.
Yeah, and I think, Michael, that's exactly that. That's the key. Openness is really our path to true freedom. It's our path to love and connection. And that little boy was not in ego. He wasn't worried about the other kids at school and what they would think about him, that he was having these other children. So that openness allows that ego to dissolve, and then that's how we find that true self, that jewel in our heart. And that's how it's revealed. And I think that when we practice that openness, we align with our higher nature, our true selves, and we do experience that deep fulfillment. And that's what Steve Hartman said. He said, he asked the father what that he thought that his son would want to do for his next birthday. He said, probably the same. And Steve Hartman ended it by saying one of the best presents that boy had at that birthday was having those people there. It wasn't about the stuff. And I think that's what openness does. It can create this amazing ripple effect of love and spread that love and light in the world that we so talk about. And that is what this heart's infinite wisdom is. When we open our heart, love, spread your light.
Openness is the superhighway to love. It's the superhighway.
Mm-hmm.
It gets you there faster than, in my view, maybe anything else. Thank you for saying that. It was absolutely awesome. Very eloquently put, because that's what openness gives you the opportunity to experience. Openness is also the superhighway to experiences, the most amazing, incredible, life-changing experiences that you could ever want to experience. It's
mm-hmm.
pretty special. Pretty special. It's not the only story I've heard about that. There's a gentleman on CBS every Monday morning. He does something called Beg Nose.
I don't know that.
Vegas is he goes around. Basically, they put him on a plane and tell him they deposit him in a city somewhere in the United States, and he has to find a heartwarming story within 48 hours.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
And he does. He finds
wow.
because he's, again, let's just understand this. It's not rocket science. He has a purpose. He has an intention, and he has a huge heart. This guy is absolutely, he just oozes love and kindness and empathy and compassion. That's his modus operandi, right? And so, of course, he's going to be able to find a heartwarming story within 48 hours, because he's going to attract it right to him, and he does every time, and it's pretty amazing. But he's so alert and so aware that he talks to everyone, and he knows how to divine that story. It is pretty darn special. I mean, you think about how many people you encounter a day that you really never give the time of day to, right? They're people. They're people just like you. They're working it up, right? And I ran into, to give an example, I was at a gentleman who'd hired me to speak several times in the last 8 years. He owns a company, and I got a text in the morning anonymously from someone at his firm that said, "Hey, today's the day we're having our annual barbecue for our people. Why don't you come by?" He sent me the flyer and everything with the time and the next day. And I don't even know who it was. I didn't even know who the guy was at the company. But he's texted it to my number, and I said, I'm going to go to that. And so I went there. I got there about 1 o'clock, and they were done eating. About 1:30 it was over. And I met the gentleman who owns the company, who was down from Alabama, and he was surprised to see me, and it was really wonderful. And then I got some food there, and I was looking for a place to sit down, and I went over to this table, and it had there was two black gals and a black gentleman that was sitting at. There were young people that were sitting at the table, and at least in their 30s, 20s and 30s. And I said, "Hey, what's going on? Can I have a seat here?" And they said, "Yeah, sure." And I found out that the two young ladies, one of the young ladies has her own. She had a shirt on, a cleaning thing. She has her own cleaning business, for residential and commercial. And I started talking about her business and how she arranges it, and she was like stellar. I mean, stellar. And it was such a wonderful joy to talk to her as a business owner and a woman getting it done. She arranged her whole business around having weekends off. Everything she does is she may work a day and an evening, but she's got weekends off. She says, that's the way I design my business and create it. And I build trust and connection with everyone I do business with. The people in residences, my goal is to build a relationship with them and a trusting relationship. And then they just give me their keys to their house, and I can go take care of them when I need to go take care of them while they're at work and doing whatever, running around. I can go in there and deal with them. And I said, that's fantastic. She says, yes, but what I caught from that conversation was her direct connection to relationship. She says, she looked me in the eye and says, I build a relationship, a connection, a trusting connection with my people. I want them to know I'm there for them. And I said, you are a superstar. So I called her.
And you are a superstar too, Michael. Really, truly, that's awesome.
I'm just here living the life living an awesome life like you and everybody else I know.
Absolutely. I mean, and I'm grateful to you, and I'm grateful to everybody that tunes into us here on PRN-FM and also our podcast, Connect to Love, because you're open to the topics. I mean, sometimes we go down these unscripted pathways, but I think that our openness for each one of us allows us to see with the eyes of the heart and perceive that beauty and the interconnectedness of all things. And you see that beauty in those people, and you cultivate it, and you share it, and you share that connection, you share that love. So thank you to you, and thank you to all of our listeners that tune in, because it really does make a difference that you are open to whatever treasures may unfold for you in any day and all the magic and miracles. It's just beautiful.
Thank you.